Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, more than 1,000 new jobs are coming to Central Indiana. The Pacers and Fever ink a long-term deal to stay in Indy. Trendiana celebrates Earth Day with a look at eateries near Indiana state parks. New tech could help cut down on cancer among firefighters. The Indianapolis Colts launch an entertainment company. And our weekly panel of insiders weighs in on Indiana's top stories. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. So far this month, companies have announced more than 1,000 new jobs coming to Central Indiana. They range in industries from food production to medical services to tech. Indiana Secretary of Commerce Jim Schellinger joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick to talk about a strong start to 2019.
A lot to talk about. So first of all, before we dive into some of these big announcements, general themes, big week in terms of jobs, lots of jobs, international influence in some of these announcements, and also some diversity. So not just manufacturing, but a diversity in terms of sectors.
You bet. Greenleaf is from Canada, so we're very proud of that. But we also, this week, we've gotten jobs in the agribusiness, in the manufacturing services, the professional services area, information technology, which we're growing over 2 times the national average. And we also landed jobs in logistics this week. So every single one of our focal point areas is really robust.
Yeah, it was touched on. All right, let's talk about Greenleaf, which was, in terms of size, the biggest deal this week. $400+ million investment, 400 jobs, 460 jobs. I should say the investment over $300 million. Talk about that. And it's an agribusiness investment.
That's right. And this is phase one of a multi-phase project. So we learned about these folks about 6 months ago. We met with them 3 or 4 times, the last one being up in Canada. And I can't say enough about Mayor Tom DeBron and Brian Ashley down in Shelbyville, how they came together to recruit this group with the state. And the beautiful thing about this, Gary, I tell everybody I get the best job in Indiana. Maybe not the most important, but the best. I get to tell our story. And all these successes that we're having, these are not just accidents. This has all been premeditated. It was planned. There was a strategy put in place years ago, over a decade ago, and we're seeing the results of those strategies today.
Let's talk about Carmel, a corporate center that continues to grow. Zotec Partners, a health IT company. I remember when the company launched, had them on the show many years ago as a small little company. It's growing into something much more.
They're going to hire 300 new people. They're going to invest up to $41 million in their company, $47 million, to build a new facility, 120,000 square foot headquarter next to their existing headquarter. And of course, they're medical revenue cycle manufacturer providers. So the governor's very excited to be up there to join them for their announcement, along with former Notre Dame coach Lou Holtz. Yeah,
interesting. Justin Christian, a really dynamic entrepreneur and BC Forward, announcing a big expansion again in Carmel. Potentially 300 jobs there as well.
Yeah, and this is a global IT company that is in consulting and in staffing, and that's what they do to assist as a consultant. 300 new jobs, again, $1 million investment. The IT growth that we have here, because of the fact that we're a great place to live, work, play, and stay, and we're very affordable, is what's helping us land a lot of the IT companies we're doing.
As you look at forward focus areas going forward, 2019 seemingly off to a good start. As you look at key areas, I know defense and aerospace is one that you and others in the state are very excited about.
Yeah, aerospace and defense is something that Indiana has assets second to none. If you look at all the different assets we have from a defense standpoint, and then you look at our defense contractors like Rolls-Royce, GE Aviation, Alcoa, BAE Systems, we've got a lot out there. And with our Guard and the assets we have in the National Guard, we are going to really focus on trying to increase that market in Indiana.
Very quickly, Routes America, a huge conference coming to Indianapolis, big coup to get that early next year, I believe. And you think that could lead to some big things? I know there's been a lot of talk about more nonstop international flights beyond the Indy to Paris route.
Yeah, over 1,000 people coming in, 300 international airlines, 80 different airlines represented, all the route planners and 50 tourism authorities. They're all coming into the #1 airport, and then they're going to travel down to the #1 convention center in America and see our great first-class city here in Indianapolis. And that can do nothing but good for us with the route planners. These are the people that decide where to go on nonstop direct flights internationally and nationally. So we're very excited about that. That'll be February 3rd through the 5th, 2020.
Jim Schellinger, Indiana Secretary of Commerce, as always, thank you. Big news this week, and we look forward to having you on again.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Still to come, FirstPerson unveils a new tool to measure company culture, and Trendiana looks at top eats near Indiana state parks. But first, Pacers Sports and Entertainment and the Capital Improvement Board have reached a 25-year deal. It keeps the Pacers and Fever in Indy and provides funding mechanisms for significant upgrades to Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Pacers President Rick Fuson and CIB President Melina Kennedy came in studio to talk about the landmark deal.
This is a story that has been brewing for some time now and of great interest in Indianapolis and around the state as well. Melina, as you look at this deal, a long-term deal, 25-year deal that will keep the Pacers and the Fevers here, talk about the particulars of the deal.
It's really exciting. A 25-year commitment to continue that strong economic impact that the Pacers and the Fever have brought to the state and the city for years is huge. What's important is it's a 25-year deal. It will involve refreshing Bankers Life Fieldhouse, which is really important because while the Pacers and the Fever play there, which is huge, both in economic impact, we have over 500 other events there as well. So it's a 25-year deal, no new taxes or new fees, thanks to the bipartisan support of the legislature. Senate Bill 7 and other legislation helps support it.
$360 million overall is the deal. How does that break down? The Pacers end up putting in $65 million of that.
And that's another really positive aspect of the deal. So it's a $360 million refresh of the existing building. The Pacers, importantly, are putting in $65 million. We really appreciate the commitment of the Pacers and Mr. Simon, but the state and the city have also contributed as well.
Yeah. All right, Rick, I want to talk about these improvements because these are rather dramatic and people will notice once they are complete. Talk about what's planned for Bankers Life inside and also outside.
Sure. Let me just first say on behalf of Herb Simon and the Simon family how important it is for them to keep the Pacers in Indiana. They've wished for nothing else for so long, and this new deal with our friends and our partners at the CIB, with help from the state and the city, makes that possible. Makes it possible for us to be here for another 25 years. There's nothing more important than that to Herb and his family. But the improvements, we got to remain competitive. And as we see there, we're looking at a plaza on the north end. It's going to be a really new gathering space for downtown. So many of the new buildings that we'll see, and you even see a skating rink, which we think will bring more people downtown, even if they're not coming to a Pacer game or to another event. And then in the balcony, we're going to be taking 8 rows off the top of each side and making more areas for people to stand and to gather. As we've done focus groups, we've heard from folks that they want more offerings and especially more areas to be with their friends where they're not just confined to a seat.
Yeah, you feel as though this can have an impact beyond the immediacy right there of Bankers Life, but the Near East side of Indianapolis.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Think about when you come from Lucas Oil Stadium through the Convention Center up the 3 blocks of Georgia Street to the redone Bankers Life Fieldhouse, looking through the translucency of the new look into Maryland Street now, into where the jail site is, then to Cummins, then to the new offerings of the north side there, Near East side on the north. But it's just great. I think it really will even make our downtown more walkable, more friendly for all the conventions and events that we have.
Yeah, and Melina, as you look at Senate Bill 7, not only the Pacers Fever, but Indy 11, a stadium there, as well as 2 new hotels who are part of that status.
Yep. So the overall CIB vision is to continue the economic impact of $1 billion a year that we've had on the state and the city. And so this is one piece of it. The convention business is huge, keeping our Gen Con, our FFAs, as part of the customer surveys there and talking to our customers. Having more hotel and convention space is a critical piece. So as we continue to try to have this $1 billion plus every year economic impact by the CIB, a big piece of it, of course, is the Bankers Fieldhouse and the Pacers. And this particular 25-year deal will have a $13 billion economic impact on the state, which is huge.
Yep, and the city will essentially take over the hotel piece. Those will be built there. Rick, as we wrap up, timetable on the improvements that.
Sure, we're in the process now of acquiring some land, acquiring a parking garage. Next spring, we'll start construction. We'll be closed for the summer of 21 and summer of 22, and finish in 22 and the summer of 20 as well. And we'll have it done by sometime around October of 2022.
All right, major news concerning the Pacers, the Fever, the Capital Improvement Board as well. Melina Kennedy and Rick Fuson, thank you both for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Later in the podcast, Trendiana celebrates Earth Day, and we showcase new tech designed to help protect firefighters. But now, FirstPerson has launched Performance Lab, a new firm connecting corporate leaders with tools to help strengthen their company's performance. The Indianapolis company says the firm uses a field test that provides valuable insights into a business's performance culture. Founder and CEO Brian Brenner came on to detail how the company believes it will benefit businesses.
First of all, this is a new standalone company. Right?
Yeah, new company. We've experimented for a number of years with how to help our customers become better performing around their people, their business. It's just part of what we do. And this became an opportunity to establish a standalone and really go for it.
But why do it? Because you're putting a lot of focus, intentionality, resources toward this. Why do it?
So for our customers who are high growth and who care about their people, being high-performing businesses is critical to their success. And if we can add a component and an optional something they can turn to for support in getting there, and they can network with others like them to become better, that makes our whole business better, it makes our community better, and it serves those clients really, really well.
Talk about the model and how you accomplish this. I know you have a performance client survey as part of this and other things. Talk about how it all works.
Yeah, so the core of this is that executives need to understand how they're doing across the enterprise in two areas. Business strategy, is that strategy working? Do their employees know how to come into that and make a difference every day? And is it the kind of place people want to be? So it's not your typical engagement type culture piece. It's really about the climate of the entire organization and how they're doing on those two strategies collectively.
In terms of, and you just launched not long ago, but already have a number of recognizable brands that are part of your customer base. I know Goodwill Industries is there, as well as a number of others.
Yeah, we've had a great early outset of customers. Goodwill Industries, Indy Chamber, CICF, Business Furniture. These are leaders who are working to make something new happen for our community, for their business, for their people. And it's very energizing to be working with them on this work.
You talk, and we do a lot about culture, certainly, but this, as you mentioned a minute ago, this is about culture, but a little bit different.
Yeah, the word climate is carefully chosen, right? So it's really not just about the culture or how people are feeling, but it's both the strategy of the business and do people understand it? Can they get into it? Do they know why we're doing what we're doing, measuring what we're measuring? And then do they really feel like this is the kind of place where my manager has my back? So it's those two things together, Gary, that really we see not happening in the market enough. So we thought, let's bring that forward in Indiana.
And quickly, you used the term measure. You know, you're measuring it, which I think is probably a very important piece there.
Yeah, so the executive teams who perform well are those who measure as much as they can, and there are areas that have been difficult. We're making it possible to measure and have that cohesive approach.
Very good. Brian Brenner, CEO of FirstPerson, also Performance Lab, now a standalone company. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, a new product could help protect firefighters from cancer, and the Indianapolis Colts launch a new venture. But first, in honor of Earth Day, we're highlighting some of the top restaurant offerings next door to 5 Indiana state parks. It's the focus of this month's Trendiana segment. Yelp Midwest Regional Director Brittany Smith joined us with a rundown.
Earth Day, April 22nd, it's
Yes.
coming up, and this is a cool way to maybe add some spice to that celebration.
Exactly. We hope we inspire people to unplug, get out there in nature, and then find a new local adventure while you're at it.
You have given us a really great statewide tour here of state parks. You begin with Turkey Run State Park, western part of the state, not far from where I
Right.
grew up, a great venue.
Yeah, you got Under the Arch. So this is one of those small town feel kind of places. The Yelp reviews are loving that you can go there. They've got antiques, Hoosier memorabilia, a salad bar for those who are hoping to be healthy, and then some breaded tenderloins that you can't miss out on.
Oh, tenderloins,
Yes.
love that. Let's go up to Northwest Indiana, the Indiana Dunes, in the spotlight now, just named Indiana's first national
That's
park.
right. One more reason to visit. Yes,
Yep.
we've got Ivy's Bohemia House, and people love that it is dog friendly on the patio. You can go there and find craft cocktails as well as several Hoosier beers, so you can really go from the park with your pup and continue the adventure.
All right, down in Brown County, in Nashville, Brown County State Park. You don't have to be a leaf watcher to really
right.
get down there and enjoy.
Yeah, it's not just for the fall months. So located just a few doors down from the visitor center, Ooey Gooey Cinnamon Rolls. It's a newer business on the scene. People love that they've got the classic cinnamon rolls that are, crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside, but some new ones like lemon blueberry. So it's a really fun spot.
Back here in central Indiana, Fort Benjamin Harrison, in Lawrence, Porter Books and Bread.
Yes, coffee roastery meets sandwich shop meets bakery, located located in an old military barracks. And another fun announcement on that business, they're opening a new spot in Greenfield, Indiana, coming soon.
Expansion.
Yes.
You are really giving us a great statewide flavor here. Let's go down to southeast Indiana, Jefferson County, Clifty Falls State Park, and it's Bad Apple Max.
Yes, a little Irish flair. So after you've done some hiking, you can have some really hearty Irish stew. They're also known for their blueberry coffee cake as well as their Bad Apple Mac burger. So if you want something that really sticks to your ribs, they've also got that great patio to see that Madison architecture that's right there.
Yeah, and these, Brittany, really are kind of hidden gems because
They truly are.
I think the state parks are hidden gems. People don't get out of, and these are great places to go and really get some great, unique food.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like when you go to Turkey Run, you feel like you're in another state. So you can really go just 2 hours, from Indianapolis or wherever you live with throughout the state, and there are adventures right there for you.
And as we wrap up, these are examples to these restaurants and these venues of entrepreneurs and people who are really not only making some great food, but they are really making a business for themselves.
Yeah, and it's a sign that you can be in small town Indiana, but if you make something great, people will come for it and make a day trip out of it.
All right, some great ideas around the state of Indiana at Indiana State Parks. Brittany Smith from Yelp. As always, great information. We'll talk to you soon. And the food smells great,
That's
too.
right, delicious.
Good stuff.
Later in the podcast, we introduce you to Colts Productions, and our insiders take on the top stories of the week. But now, the annual Fire Department Instructors Conference wrapped up last week in Indianapolis, drawing about 34,000 people. One of the products on display, an app that developers say could cut down on cancer among firefighters. Exposure Tracker co-founder Clive Savacool and Envisage Technologies customer outreach manager Kim Storvik joined Kylie Valletta in the business of health.
So Clive, you have a very interesting story. You're a firefighter, and your personal experience really opened the door to creating the software. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I've been in the fire service for over 20 years, and even though I've been very diligent about following best practices, wearing my gear, wearing my breathing apparatus, just over my career I started getting exposures essentially that end up having effects on my lungs, and the ability to breathe around smoke just kind of really curtailed my ability to be in the field. And over my career I noticed there wasn't a really good platform on being able to track your exposures. I just did it on a notepad and kept it in a file in my garage, and so they kind of bring about the concept of exposure tracking software.
And so you developed it and now have this great tool for other firefighters to use, which it's important to mention it's free to use. You had a booth at the FDIC this week, getting the word out. Tell us exactly, Kim, what is the software? What can it do for firefighters?
Yeah, so the software is a web-based software package, so you just navigate to firstforward.com, and that's what it's called. And exposure tracking is one part of the website. So that's the primary thing that we're talking about at FDIC, is providing this free tool to the fire service. But in addition to that, there are other tools on the site that can help with firefighter health and safety and wellness. One of those examples is that there are a lot of training opportunities on First Forward. So not only can firefighters track their exposures and what they respond to, but they can also then go take important training to help them learn those best practices and be as careful as they can in the field.
It seems obvious that firefighters are exposed to more carcinogens, but why is it important for them to be so diligent about documenting it?
It's a great question, and it's similar to why we would go have an annual physical with our doctor. It's even if we're feeling fine, going to the doctor, it creates that level of awareness, and so we kind of know what's going on with us. And exposure tracking through First Forward gives firefighters that ability to have that level of awareness on how many fires they're going to and what kind of symptoms they might be having that might be progressive, and it might be a subtle cough that gets worse and worse. And so our software gives them that ability to create awareness to what they're doing.
So you have these little individual pieces of data, but what is the big picture goal? What is your ultimate goal with this software?
So ultimately, the software isn't going to cure cancer in a firefighter. What the tool that we're providing is the ability to have the awareness that they're able to create, change their behavior. And so throughout their career, this tool may can be more proactive with wearing their PPE, their personal protective equipment. It'll be more helpful with them as far as how they go and see their physician when they have a symptom. And so the software itself is going to be the tool to create awareness so they're more proactive versus being reactive once they come down with some sort of chronic illness.
Change the behavior, like you mentioned.
Exactly.
Kim, you're a software company at heart, but you think your company has a unique approach, and that's played out in this, how you approach firefighters in this way.
Yeah, so what we really try to do is work hand in hand with the people that we're serving. And so we spend a lot of time talking with firefighters and learning what the tools are that they really need to be able to improve their health and safety and do their jobs better and feel like when they go on the scene, they've got all of the tools in place that they need to be safe. And so that's why we have things like the training and things like that to pair with the exposure tracking. And speaking with them on a regular basis allows us to continue to develop our software. It's not a stagnant system. We want to keep providing them with the tools that they need, and they're the best ones to inform us. And so we do take a pretty unique approach in terms of partnering with them and gaining those insights so that we are sure that we're serving the population that we intend to serve.
All right. Well, Kim and Clive, thank you both for being here. Really important tool, and hopefully get the word out and more firefighters can start tracking.
Still to come, perspective on the top stories of the week from our panel of insiders. But first, the Indianapolis Colts, like many sports franchises, have evolved into a full-service, year-round entertainment company. To that end, they've launched a new venture called Colts Productions. Vice President Steve Campbell and Senior Director of Content and Production Matt Dominic spoke with Bill Benner in Inside Indiana Sports.
Steve, let's start with you. Again, this is not something that just happened, but a lot of franchises are all moving this direction. They want to give fans, all those people looking on their phones.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's our most prominent product is on the field on Sundays, and that's what most people are accustomed to. But as you said, fans want entertainment year-round, right. 24/7, 365, and so the Colts, like the Pacers and like other organizations across the country, are really starting to evolve into year-round entertainment companies. So this is an attempt to give the fans what they want, which is more entertainment, more access, and quite frankly, unprecedented access to the team behind the scenes.
So you brought this young fellow, Matt Dominic, on board previously with the Blackhawks and the Cubs up in Chicago, doing these kinds of things.
Yes, so I started my career with the Blackhawks and then was there for 3 championships. Went over to the Cubs and they won their championship in 2016, and now I'm here at the Colts and doing, behind the scenes access and filming things that I've never even dreamt I've even filmed before. For the first episode that we had for the draft series that came out, we were in Kansas City for the last game and the team lost, and we were in the locker room and filming after the loss, which is something that I have never done before in all my career. But, that's something that Frank Reich and Chris Ballard were okay with and wanted us to be there for, to get those moments. And that's the kind of access that we're giving fans and stuff that, I've never filmed before.
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned the fact that Chris and Coach Reich have really been open to this, and again, it's a paranoid world sometimes in professional and college sports, but they're open.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the Irsay family, they gave us the tools that the organization needed to really put their best foot forward when it comes to content and production. So they've been fully behind us, and then as Matt said, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich have been very different than a lot of coaches around the country, and are allowing this access even to their most vulnerable moments. And so that's what fans want to see. And so we want to, as I said, we want to give fans what they want.
You said Matt, on draft night, you're going to be in the draft room. That's pretty cool.
That's correct. This is, my first season in the NFL, and to be in the draft room, that's something that is unprecedented. Usually teams are allowed in after the pick's made and you can get the phone call. But right now, the plan is to be there, to be in the room as they're drafting, as it happens. And that, of course, will be in the last episode, episode 5, that comes out in May.
Steve, talk about the draft upcoming, mm-hmm. I think it's April
25th to 27th.
25th, mm-hmm. Based out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Correct.
But you're going to involve the Muncie Flyers. For people who don't know, who were the Muncie Flyers? This
is sort of unbelievable to a lot of people, but one of the original NFL franchises in 1920 was in Muncie, the Muncie Flyers. And they didn't last very long, and a lot of teams back then didn't last very long, but one of the original NFL cities is in Muncie. And this upcoming season is the 100th season of the NFL, and so we're going to be reaching out to them all year long, but we're going to make one of our draft picks from Muncie to honor that history, that history of pro football in Indiana that very few people know about.
That is very, very cool. Okay, real quickly, Matt, if I want to access this stuff, where do I go?
Any platform on social, yeah. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then Colts.com, of course.
All right. All Colts, all the time.
All the time.
Colts Productions. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Matt. Great. Good luck in the draft. Let's do like we did last year.
And finally, our panel of insiders offers perspective on Indiana's top stories. This week's panel includes Ball State Center for Business and Research Director Michael Hicks, Beck Communications Group President Laura Beck, and Fagery Baker Daniels partner Murray Clark.
Jobs, I think one of the big stories this week, to be sure, in Indiana. A flurry of jobs announcements, including some really big ones. Mike Greenleaf investing $300 million plus in Shelbyville, planning to add as many as 460 jobs over the next 3 to 5 years. But then there are plans, they say, for, if all goes well, phase 2 and phase 3, which would mean more jobs. So a big commitment to Shelbyville.
Right, and you kind of expect it there being in the metro area, but Shelbyville has got all the right mix for not only those jobs, but the follow-on jobs maybe in headquarters, R&D down the road. I think you're going to be talking a lot about Shelbyville on this show over the next few years.
We want to talk about that in a moment. The Greenleaf deal is in the ag bioscience space, which is an emerging sector in the state of Indiana. The other big announcements, Zotec Partners in Carmel announcing a new headquarters and 300 jobs, essentially tripling its footprint there. And BC Forward is putting a new digital training center in Carmel, 300 jobs. So the announcements are fairly diverse in terms of the types of jobs.
They are. They're diverse in types of the job, and they're also diverse in location. And I think that also speaks to the health of the commercial real estate sector, particularly in those suburban submarkets, because there isn't a lot of available land. There isn't a lot of available space, and there's available land, and they can really get in there. And then there's the construction jobs too that are associated with it.
Murray, your take on this, because big announcements.
Well, they're diverse, but really I think it shows the success of IEDC, Jim Schellinger, local leaders going after targeted growth areas like agribusiness, biosciences, advanced manufacturing, and and really targeting new jobs to high-wage, high-skilled jobs, which is really great news for this area.
And some statewide activity. And Murray, one of the announcements this week, a maritime company making an announcement, I think 50 or 60 jobs in New Albany near the Port of Indiana, Jeffersonville. And as you're well aware, that whole area down there, River Ridge Commerce Center and the Port of Indiana, and all of the activity from a distribution and logistics standpoint.
Well, River Ridge, and we've talked about River Ridge, is a transformational development down there, and it continues to have great success. So kudos to River Ridge, but also to the local leaders and the legislative leaders down there that continue to do the things they need to advance that community.
Yeah, Mike, I want to ask you about Shelbyville, because I know you have some thoughts as you look for that next, I don't want to say boom community, but community that really is maybe on the rise in terms of investment and jobs and the things they're doing. You think a lot of what they're doing down in Shelbyville.
Well, they've gone through an intentional planning process where they examined themselves using real data. Their community leaders are working together. We talked about that off camera. And they're in a good geographic position to take advantage of all that in terms of attracting young people, millennials. They got great schools, plenty of developable land. All the things are really ticking for that community to be a place on the rise over the next few years. We're late in a business cycle, and the fact that the jobs are coming to Indiana and looking for places like this. These are long-term commitments at a time it's really difficult to be making a long-term commitment and be promising that type of job. So I think this is good news.
Yeah. Another major story we're following this week, the Indiana Pacers Capital Improvement Board reaching an agreement which will essentially keep the Pacers and the Fever in town in Indianapolis for 25 years. But also, very importantly, they also detail some massive changes to Bankers Life Fieldhouse, both inside the arena and outside, with what could be a skating rink and gathering areas and those types of things. So some pretty ambitious plans, $360 million deal on the table with this new Pacer agreement.
Well, I think it's terrific for the city. I think when you really look at the sports team ownership and the partnership that has evolved over time, there's a real commitment by the Simon family to be in Indianapolis and within the organization, as well as to have a sustainable future too. And for our community to have that, there's this huge spillover effect too, especially with the new renderings. Just think about what impact that's going to have on the Near East Side, on the Near South Side, as that development pushes further out. It really is, I hate to say transformational, but it really is for that part of town. It's going to be really exciting.
And Murray, especially to add on to what Laura just said there, that Near East Side with Cummins and all the development you're seeing already there, in this one more piece that adds to development and what has been kind of an underdeveloped area really going to change.
Yeah, you can kind of exhale now. We go through this periodically. In a market of our size, this is hard work. This is so kudos to the people that have worked on this and come to an agreement.
Yeah, and Murray, too, the point about this, that Herb Simon and the Simon family wanting this to be a legacy, wanting to keep the team here and really wanting to make this happen. If you think of the legacy of the Simon family and all the things they've contributed to in town, this is certainly one of them that will be part of that legacy for sure.
Right, and we talked about it off camera a little bit. There's a connectivity with the stories that we're talking about today. So we're trying to get high-skilled workers, new jobs in this community. This is a piece of the puzzle, and really, I know it's difficult, and it takes. And Herb Simon, of course, has been great to this community with the Pacers. Has had every opportunity to leave, but has really been great to Indianapolis.
As Murray said, these deals are difficult to do, and not every city gets them done. You know, it doesn't always go this way in other places. How important is it to keep a professional franchise, just from maybe the psyche of a community, the quality of place, quality of life quotient from a business standpoint?
Well, from a pure economic standpoint, it's really difficult to know exactly if the trade-offs are there. But from a business standpoint, if you're talking about commercial development, which has really been an important focus here in central Indiana, there's no doubt that it's beneficial. And so the jobs in Shelbyville, the jobs in Carmel, the general growth that's happening in this urban place are connected to the other things we're talking about, the amenities. People are, the people that you want to attract, they can live anywhere in the country. They can live in Austin, San Francisco, Boston. And if they're coming here, it's because there's something special about what's happening here that makes a difference. And this is part of that mix in the loop.
Yeah, I should mention, too, that the Indiana Fever will be part of this deal as well. And they've made major news this week in an announcement of a partnership with Salesforce. Salesforce will have their Salesforce logo on the jerseys of the Fever. There are also some technology elements to that partnership as well. But that's a big, high-profile deal for the Fever.
It is an incredibly high-profile deal, and I am just continually impressed by what the Fever is doing right now. I mean, they are really an organization on the rise. And when you think about Salesforce's commitment to this team, and then you think about that residual value of a little girl or a little boy watching this women's league with a major company sponsoring them. I just really think there are so many intangible benefits to that, and that investment in women's sports is incredibly critical at a time where we are in our culture with the Me Too movement and all of the different equal pay issues moving forward. It's really impactful, and I think it's going to have a long-term effect.
Murray, back to you on talking about these types of things in terms of the Pacers deal and the 25-year agreement being difficult things to put together. What is it about Indianapolis as you look over the course of multiple decades? There have been a number of these moments, to do deals or not do deals, and they always seem to get done. There's back and forth now in a couple of big hotels and a convention center expansion downtown that appears that it'll happen. What is it about Indianapolis that as a city kind of get things done at the end of the day?
So on the sports front, this really started 35 years ago, even before the Pan Am Games, right? So we started with this culture of trying to figure out how we could get things done, and then it's been the collaborative, can-do environment here and character of Indianapolis and its leaders. And there's many examples of that. Gypsy Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, which is a nonpartisan entity. It was started in the 60s to try to move the city forward. A culture of bipartisan or nonpartisan public-private cooperation and collaboration that I think has really led to this.
Yeah. As we end up, we're running out of time. Pacers, Celtics. Anybody with a prediction?
Go Pacers. I'm
Okay.
just going with the
Go
Pacers.
Pacers.
I'm going with the
Murray?
Pacers.
We'll take that 4-0.
I like
Taking
it.
it.
Okay,
I'm going
Mike,
with them.
you predicted Notre
I'm
Dame
going
or
with
Ball State over Notre Dame, and you almost got it.
Right. I'm not.
you.
It's risky predicting against the Irishman, but I'm going to do it today.
Okay.
So.
All right, we'll come back. We'll revisit that here in a couple of weeks. Mike Hicks, Laura Beck, Murray Clark, thanks very much.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.